Robot Wars and the art of throwing an 80 to 110 kilogram lump of steel and or fiberglass out of the arena goes together like salt and pepper, gin and tonic, more pandemonium and unfounded accusations of stabbing crew members. It's an inseparable part of the show's identity, and often a very entertaining way of watching a robot just being knocked out. Certainly more entertaining than the house robot suddenly deciding that a robot is defeated by juggling its carcass around like a cat showing you the mouse it's just killed. In celebration of this very particularly British way of defeating your opponent, I will be ranking my favourite OOTAs in Robot Wars. I could do other competitions, but I am incredibly lazy. Plus, I haven't made a video in what seems to be months. So here's something to tide the weight between the retrospective episodes. There's no particular criteria except maybe some Chaos 2 bias here and there, but that's to be expected. I'm just going by the ones that I think are the coolest, and you're just going to sit there and nod in agreement the entire time. Spawn Again really is an enigma. On its best days, it was a formidable robot with a flipper that packed a mighty punch. And on its worst days, it seemed to barely move, malfunction in the most specific ways possible, or trundle around the arena on one single brain cell and somehow make its way to the series semi-finals while doing so. Thankfully, this OOTA embodies some of Spawn Again's best performances. With its first flip in Heat N, it sends out poor little Chip a good 3 feet into the air, doming the camera before landing out of the arena in one fell swoop. Satisfying to watch, yet also bittersweet knowing that it would never make it out of that heat due to, yet again, another awfully specific problem happening to them. While this absolute shithouse of a robot was as much of an enemy to itself as it was to its opponent, it's one that holds a very special place in my heart. When it works. Apollo was the first to cement itself as a UK champion during Robot Wars' reboot era. Big flipper, big personalities, big bot. It was a fan favourite as well as a formidable opponent. Unfortunately, as the reboot went along, the success was never replicated, losing in the Heat final in the next series to Carbide, only to be brung back by a wildcard, only to lose again in the group battles. And its Series 10 foray wasn't anything to bark at either. However, it does have one moment that sticks out. In its group battle against Apocalypse and the Swarm, Apollo rolled back the years as it chucked Rubber Duck 12 feet into the air and out of the arena, so gracefully that you could play Zadok the Priest and pretend the Queen never died in a bout of imperialistic denial. And I don't want to hear you telling me that Rubber Duck is a fraction of the weight of their average heavyweight. You boring sod. How could you not love this? It's beautiful. Firestorm really was the star student when it came to consistency. Every year, except for Series 4, it was a competitor for the championship. Even in its last series, it was making light work of genuinely good robots like Mute and Ripper without a single hesitation. It was one of the very few of the old guard that stayed competitive for a long time. A great example of its incredible ability to stay relevant against newer competitors is with the ease that it disposed S3. S3 was a very good robot, and had gotten to its second semi-final, and even beat Dan Tonka on the way to its second round fight. But it was so easily disposed of by Firestorm in the next round, and done so in an undignified way to boot. It hung onto the arena wall for a few seconds, only to be held by the angle grinder, fell back on Firestorm's flipper, hung again on the arena sidewall, only for the angle grinder to be pushed away, making S3 slowly slump out of the arena without even putting up a fight. One of the many clinical and dominant Firestorm performances, and absolutely deserving of the number 8 spot. This, in all intents and purposes, was completely and utterly unnecessary. Putting featherweights into a heavyweight arena was bad enough, but putting 2 of them onto the floor flipper only had one outcome. And thank God it happened. I feel a bit naughty putting this on the list because the reason it's only there is half because of the OOTA itself, the other reason is due to our good pal Cygnus. Neither robot is known for anything else apart from this incredible moment. So, let me do a play-by-play commentary for you. Cygnus is placed onto the floor flipper by Killalot. Then, Cheese 2, our other MVP, gets placed right beside Cygnus by Killalot as well. The flipper goes off, and Cheese 2 is sent straight out of the arena like a bullet. You don't even notice he's gone out. And, the reason this is on the list, Cygnus ends up in the stratosphere, only to come down and stumble straight into the pit. Only to have Jonathan Pierce utter the famous line, "That's snowed down with cum on it. That's come down with snow on it." The only reason it isn't higher on the list is because they're featherweights. What else did you expect to happen? Now, this one isn't anything particularly impressive compared to the last one. I just think it's cool. Sometimes I think OOTAs just look cool. Atomic 2 in Series 7 was unlike anything we'd seen out of that robot in previous incarnations. It was a faster and more relentless Atomic, wasting literally no time to dispose of any of its opponents. Terra Turtle was immediately chucked out, hellbent in a similar way, and it would dispose of Smidsy in probably the coolest way. It was choking Smidsy out like nobody's business and took zero time in pushing them near the arena sidewall at ramming speed, using their flipper and letting Smidsy smash into the sidewall, do a 360-degree roll in the air before coming to rest on the other side of the arena. Atomic 2 would make themselves the only robot of the classic series to flip a robot out of the arena during its first, second, and third rounds in a row. I like Big Nipper a lot. It was a good robot in Series 7, making it to the Heat Final, and after that it was a UK champion in the Roaming Robots UK Championship live circuit, so it's a robot that has a lot of prestige. And its most incredible trick was it could OOTA robots. It even OOTA'd a robot during the live circuit. If you don't have the clips here, chances are I couldn't find it, or I'm talking about a different robot entirely. No, I'm pretty sure I'm talking about Big Nipper though. During the reboot, it had a spinner configuration that could really kick some ass if it made a decent hit. And that's exactly what happened in its fight against Crackers and Smash. After the entanglement weapon did absolutely zilch after flying off almost immediately, it became pretty obvious who was the winner of that fight. Crackers and Smash. Can we edit that out? Well, pretty obvious what happened there. Big Nipper's blade hits Crackers, or Smash, I don't know, and launches it so high in the air that it wipes out one of the roof lights. Absolutely balmy from Big Nipper. And fuck you, Riptide. Big Nipper did it first. A robot that you wouldn't think would be capable of OOTAs. Absolutely incredible. This one just makes me incredibly happy. The Chaos 2 fan in me gets such a kick out of this OOTA. For context, Dan Tomkia, all the way back in Series 6, beat Chaos 2 in the Heat Final by throwing it out of the arena. This made childhood me feel a level of insecurity that has not been rivaled since. Craig Danby on Twitter felt the need to tell me that the pits during that fight were roaring in approval. Thanks, Craig. DTK's impressive run was continuing to happen during Series 7, when in its Heat Final fight, it dispatched IG-88 like it wasn't even there, and ended up clocking the quickest fight in Robot Wars' history. That was until its fight against Gravity. Gravity was a Dutch robot that was somewhat forgettable during its local Robot Wars foray, but was an absolute beast during its UK run, with a flipper nearly as powerful as Really Big Cheese in a smaller frame. It was an absolutely unbelievable robot at the time. The round 1 semi-final fight against Dan Tomkia was the fight that really cemented it as one of my personal favourites.
Dan Tomkia! Over and out!
Boom. Done in 6 seconds. The fastest fight in the classic series. Absolutely unbelievable. Storm 2 was a formidable robot in its very brief time in Robot Wars. By the start of Series 7, they had won the New Blood competition and bagged themselves qualification for Series 7. Tornado was the champion and known for its dogged persistence. Storm 2 would not only improve on that robotic philosophy, it would culminate in a Heat Final OOTA that bags the bronze for me. Using the power of friendship, that's my code for pushing power, our poor victim, Steel Avenger, would be launched into a backflip and into the Robot Wars singularity. And Ed Hoppit would go on about it for 20 years and pretend that he's the best thing since sliced bread. Was it really worth it in the end? Oh man. 2 amazing robots of their time duking it out, and poor Crackers and Smash having to deal with this nightmare in real time. Thankfully, it wasn't too much of an issue for them in the end, as a chain of events meant that Aftershock was in for the shock of a lifetime. After decimating the insanely fragile floor flipper, confusion started to reign as the Crackers and Smash team thought that the battle was about to be halted, as the arena was technically damaged. Yet, cease wasn't being called. Michael Oates, taking matters into his own hands, thought, wait, hold on, I hear no uttering of the word cease, and thank the Lord he thought those exact words, in that exact tone, with this voice. as Aftershock got the raw end of the deal and was not only thrown out of the arena, but the giant spinning disc made sweet chin music with the arena wall in the process. You could not create a better shot than that, even if you tried. It was magnificent. You knew it. I knew it. It was going to be number one. I'd be a fool not to. If by sheer luck you haven't seen this, all I need to do is show you. And then you'll understand.